my kind of philosophy on brewing and how I look at brewing is, make balanced beers. It's great to have like, a juicy, floral or citrusy beer, but I still want to be able to taste the yeast and the malt and like, beer flavored beer for the most part. And, trying to have, and if you have a well-balanced beer, you can have a 7% that doesn't drink like super fusel alcohol-y and, stuff like that. So it's kind of my approach to it is trying to make the most balanced beers I can, because that's what I like to drink. And if I'm not brewing what I like to drink, what am I doing? So.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Beer Inside. Today we are in South Burlington, Vermont, and joining me is Jack from Weird Window Brewing.
Yeah, how's it going?
Good.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much for hosting us today.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate anybody who's willing to take time out of their very busy schedule to speak with us about their passion, their brewery, and everything they enjoy about the craft industry.
Yeah, I'm glad you can make it down from up north.
Yeah. Thankfully, Vermont and Ottawa for us is like it's either 2 hours west or 2 hours south, so it's super easy to do. You brought me out some delicious looking beers here to try. What am I going to be
So we'll start with the first one. Yeah, so it is labeled one. So that's our Down and Clear. It's our American lager, just super easy drinking. Kind of what we people ask, like I don't really drink craft beer. College kids come down with their parents for graduation. Oh, my dad only drinks Bud Light. Well, here we go.
Awesome.
Cheers.
A toast. It's always an easy way to tell how good a brewery is by how good the lager is, because it's just.
Thank you. I mean, there's not much. You can't hide much in a lager.
Yeah. Super light, super crushable.
Thank you.
I could probably drink a bunch of those, no problem. I mean, depending on the alcohol percentage and if I'm driving or not.
Right.
As
Yeah,
I say,
There you go.
Enjoy responsibly.
So this is 5.86.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So it's not crazy.
Not
hard.
crazy.
It's like maybe one or two, and then if you have to drive, take a break. So perfect. So Jack, what's the beer story? What's the creation of Weird Window?
Kind of a long story. My journey into beer started. I went to college in upstate New York at St. Lawrence University, and I met some guys there. And when I was a freshman, and they were homebrewing in like their townhouse. They were seniors, and I started hanging out with them and learning how to homebrew there. And then that kind of took off through there. I homebrewed all through college. When I graduated, my now wife and I went out to Utah. I was homebrewing out in Utah as well, and then wanted to come back east. And I knew I didn't want to keep doing what I was doing in Utah back in Vermont. And so I was talking to one of my best friends who was running a brewery out in California at the time. And I interned with him, and he was actually the guy that taught me how to homebrew in college too. So I got to see the homebrew from him, and then the production side of brewing from him. Cool. And then I came to Vermont, and was looking for brewing jobs, and there weren't really any production jobs, but I ended up getting a job on the Otter Creek packaging line. I was on the packaging line for about 3 months, and then went into the cellars. I was in the cellars at Otter for 1.5 years, 2 years. Went from the cellars to the brew deck. I was a brewer at Otter for about a year, with the last 9 months as the lead brewer down there, and then left Otter and went to Frost. Okay. I was the brewer at Frost, and now we're here.
It's quite the journey.
Yeah. So I've been able to see everything from stovetop home brewing to 120 barrel BrauCon. Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, my nephew's at points, he's like, oh, maybe I'm going to get into brewing. I'm like, kid, just start as a keg washer. And some guy will just be like, hey, want to learn, and grab you under his wing, and it goes from there.
Yeah.
So, there's always an initial somewhere to start in the brewing industry, whether it's washing kegs or on the production line, putting stickers on cans.
Right,
You always need those people to help you to start. And then at some point it's, hey, you want to learn to brew, you want to go there, and that's your journey. Sounds like it's exactly that what it was.
Yeah, I've been kind of lucky that like how I kind of got into it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. I got to learn from some incredible people, and so it was cool.
Yeah, it does sound like quite the journey. I mean, Otter, Frost, those are names that even I recognize as a Canadian craft drinker. They're up there. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty unique though. Utah is more of a kind of like a dry state, isn't it?
A little bit. There's definitely some different liquor laws. I was actually a ski patroller there, so I wasn't even brewing there. I was just doing home brewing there, so I was doing something totally different. But it was you can buy they've actually changed the laws since I left, but when I was there, it was you could buy 3.2% beer in gas stations and grocery stores, and you had to go to the liquor store to buy full test beer, and anything on draft had to be 3.2%. But
Wow.
they've changed it since I left in 2014, 2015. But yeah.
Because you kind of just hear always the old rules, like where I'm from, it was where I live, it was a dry county for 100 years.
Oh, wow.
So it was, if you want to drink a beer, you got to eat a hot dog. And now, coming on 10 years next year, it's like, oh, we had our first microbrewery, and now, oh, they are successful. We can open a kind of a tapas with alcohol, and
That's cool.
It snowballs to, it's not cheap to drink craft beer.
Right.
You don't have your old, especially where I live, poorer people, before the gentrification that's starting to happen, just getting drunk at a craft beer bar and getting into fights. Just doesn't, it's very rare.
Yes.
I've seen maybe, I've been drinking craft beer for 15 years. I've seen maybe 4 fights ever. And there's probably stuff that escalated beforehand to go with that. I'm sure, I don't know if you've had those kind of nights here yet.
No, we close at 8, where, we're very lucky. The people that come in here are awesome. And, we haven't had any issues. We close early. We're not kind of a nighttime bar hangout. It's craft brewery.
Right. I mean, for sure, it's kind of industrial with residential at the same time. I'm sure the locals, when they saw a new brewery, just step up. Let's go.
Yeah,
so.
it's been the response has been great. Coming out of the pandemic and not really being able to have the bar open for the first little bit and then close and then open. It's so we're getting there. Slowly gaining some traction, but that stuff doesn't happen overnight. So,
June 2020.
July
2020.
Yeah. So
it's
originally, when we were under construction, our target to open was going to be March 2020.
Okay.
And luckily, we missed some construction targets. Otherwise, I would have had beer in the tanks and everything when they shut down. So we missed some construction targets, and we ended up finishing construction in April or May. And my wife and I were talking, and we're like, we'll just wait it out. Like they keep saying 2 weeks. It'll be fine. We'll be good. And then it was like 2 more weeks, and then we kind of made the decision, well, we have to open. We can't just keep sitting here. So we started brewing and ended up opening in July, and then we closed in November and then reopened in May. And from November to May, we were doing, growler sales, can sales out of the window here. And then reopened in May, opened the tap room in May of 2021, been going since then. So it's been an experience.
Weird Window, pretty unique name. What made you decide that, and not kind of South Burlington Brewing or Ethan Allen Drive Brewing or anything like that?
Weird Window. I don't know how much time you spent driving around Vermont, but if you go, especially up to Sugarbush or Stowe, kind of some of the older homes here in Vermont, you'll see these crooked windows on some of the older farmhouses. And when my wife and I moved here, we didn't know what they were called. They just kind of looked funny. We called them the Weird Windows. And then when we were looking for a name for the brewery, we were talking to some of our friends. We wanted something connected to Vermont, but not like Green Mountain Brewing Company, because I feel like the coffee people might have had a complaint or two about that. And then one of our friends suggested Witch's Window Brewing. And we're like, what's a Witch's Window? He's like, the crooked. We're like, oh my God, the Weird Windows?
Yeah.
And so then we went with Weird Window because, we're not pigeonholed into having like a haunted house themed brewery. We can play it up at Halloween and everything and have witches brew porter or whatever, but for the rest of the year we don't have to have everything Halloween themed.
Yeah.
So
very cool. It's something that just clicked, right? That's what matters.
Yeah, just kind of we were looking for names and we kind of found some that we kind of liked but weren't, and then just with that one it just kind of clicked. I don't know, I probably can't get a video of it yet, but we do have a Witch's Window in the tap room over there looking into the production. So
I mean, besides the pandemic, clearly, any other kind of roadblocks or difficulties of just creating the brewery, finding a place? Was the city of the city of Vermont, from what I can tell, is very welcoming of new breweries.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, honestly, ask about roadblocks. The pandemic's really the only one that sticks out. Everything, but other than that, everything's been easy compared to dealing with that. But there's always things when you have construction, whether it's construction delays. Like luckily we were under construction before the pandemic and didn't hit any of these supply chain issues or material costs or, stuff like that could have really set us back a lot.
Yeah.
So, other notwithstanding of the pandemic, it's been it's been fine. I don't think there's anything that I would be like, oh, well, that was a real hang up because the pandemic just kind of overshadows everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of back home in Montreal or Quebec in general, it's like guys finding locations that have to literally dig up the ground to create to dump bad, guys like yourself, you can't present a bad beer. It puts a bad negative connotation on the brewery. So it's like, oh no, I had to create the drain. I had to create this.
Yeah, well, we did have to end up we cut all the floor out in the production area to put in trench drains and hub drains and a new septic, not a septic system, but new drainage so that wasn't tied into the sanitary in the building and stuff like that. So I mean, we had a decent amount of construction and everything, but it all went. The guys that we had doing the construction were fantastic. So that always makes it easier when your contractors are good at what they do.
Yeah. And I do like places like this that are more kind of industrial-ish feel.
Yeah.
But also I enjoy the tap room downtown. I say I'm the ultimate Gemini. I love one thing and then I love another, but I love them both. So it's the balance of the scales really in the end. What's beer number 2 we got
So
here?
beer number 2 is our Townhouse. So it's just it's a pale ale. No dry hop, nothing, super light, crisp. It's mostly Sultana hops. So cheers.
Toast. That's refreshing.
Yeah. It's a really good one for a hot day.
It's something I can see myself sitting on your patio and just having a couple of these as well. In my heart, I start with the lager, but then you get more adventurous and you go bigger and bolder.
Yeah.
It's kind of, for what the two of you gave me, it's kind of an upscale of what my flavor, my palate, even somebody new to craft beer, this would kind of be like here's your introduction of where to go.
Yeah, that's kind of how we try to build our flights is, lightest to most bold flavor. The one we're saving for the end, I think you'll get a kick out of. So I won't spoil the surprise yet. But.
That's awesome. You have pretty standardization of the labeling style. What made you decide on sticking with those easier labels and not going crazy with super designs and everything like that?
Honestly?
Yeah.
I do it myself in Photoshop. Okay. Because I can't afford a graphic designer.
Yeah, great.
So that's why our labels look the way they do.
Yeah.
But we originally had our labels as just our colored logo on all the cans.
Yeah.
And we got some feedback from stores and buyers that, when they're on the shelf, they all look the same. You can't tell what beer is which. And so we were trying to figure out, okay, what can we do? Because we do like having the brand recognition of, you see our can with the logo, it's our beer. And so we wanted to try to keep that brand recognition through the product line without making all of them look the same. And I was racking my brain trying to figure out how to do it, and I couldn't come up with it. And my wife just goes, "Why didn't we just change the color of the hop?"
Yeah.
So keep it simple, right? And then that's what we've done, and it's been a hit, So that's why our labels look the way they do. But
I mean, on the logo too, it's kind of Vermont is the Green Mountain State for those who aren't aware. So you kind of have the weird window or the witch's window with almost like a hoppy mountain in the background.
Exactly.
So it's quite unique.
That's what we were going for.
Going straight to cans, and you said you do growlers as well, and there's these bigger bottles, but it seems predominantly can focused. What made you decide to kind of go with that?
So we have 9 taps on, and anything we don't have in cans, we will fill the 30-ounce growlers up. In terms of cans, the original plan before the pandemic, when we were building out our business plan, was a year, 14 months worth of taproom only. Because, we wanted to focus on getting the customer base through the taproom. Because there's so much great beer here in Vermont, and, there's only so many coolers in a store. So trying to really get a shelf space in the cold storage isn't always the easiest. And so we wanted to really build up that customer base before we just started putting cans on the shelves that people would see and maybe grab another beer that they already know. Unfortunately, with the pandemic and then closing in November, we had no choice but to start canning because we had to get beer out because we couldn't have the bar open anymore. So that's kind of how we started into the can journey. And so we'll can once a month, 2 styles-ish. We just try to keep it coming out, and we'll do the beers that people like and some of the better sellers.
Yeah.
And then which is nice because I have a 15 barrel and a 3 barrel system back there. So on the 3 barrel, I can play around and do taproom only releases of things that, I know might not sell as well in a store, whereas, I can do an IPA on the 15 and put it in cans, and those will sell. So yeah, we try to keep a good mix of, taproom only, draft only specials versus the cans.
Very cool. Your naming convention too, it's kind of, the Witch's Brew and things like that. What made you decide that and not the typical or old school style, just pale ale, blonde, blah, blah, blah?
I'm not very creative, so I go with a lot of pop culture references and songs and stuff like that. So, for the Townhouse, the beer that we just had, that's named after where I learned to brew. The Townhouse is at St. Lawrence because it's a 4.5% easy drinking pale ale. It's kind of, in the description, it's like the beer we wish we had in college.
Yeah.
And then the next beer that we'll have is Reigns of Cashmere, which I don't know if you're a Game of Thrones fan.
Yeah.
But Reigns of Cashmere, and it has cashmere hops in it, so that just kind of made sense in my brain. We named the dog Citra, is our 100% Citra hopped IPA, and our dog is named Citra, and so that's where that came from. So it's just kind of pop culture, just inside jokes. There's a beer that we don't have right now that the name's just inside joke between my wife and I, and we thought it was funny, and so that's why it's named that. So it's like you just kind of have some fun with it. You gotta have some fun with it. So.
Let's get to this
cool,
Cashmere.
Yeah, so Reigns of Cashmere, New England IPA, mostly cashmere hops with some Lotus and Sultana as well.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Cheers.
Toast. Oh, nice and juicy.
You all right?
It's 6-ish
Seven.
percent. 7. Okay. Wow. 7%'s masked really well. It's incredible what the science behind just kind of getting it that right alcohol level. There's another brewery in Quebec City, and I'm just like, oh man, these beers are so juicy. It tastes like I'm drinking juice.
Right.
I'm drunk. What's going on? Oh, they're all 8%.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll happen. It's balanced. But my kind of philosophy on brewing and how I look at brewing is make balanced beers. It's great to have a juicy floral or citrusy beer, but I still want to be able to taste the yeast and the malt and beer flavored beer for the most part. And trying to have, and if you have a well balanced beer, you can have a 7% that doesn't drink super fusel alcohol-y and stuff like that. So it's kind of my approach to it is trying to make the most balanced beers I can, because that's what I like to drink, and if I'm not brewing what I like to drink, what am I doing? So
speaking of brewing, you said you started with kind of friends in college. Do you remember that one of those first beers you brewed?
I do not, but I can tell you it was probably terrible.
Yeah, we get a lot of, might as well, we're going fishing, might as well just put some alcohol in our body.
It was back before we really understood, oxidation. Why does this beer taste like cardboard after 2 weeks? Oh, because we poured it from the bucket up here to the bucket down here and just let it splash all over the place. How do we get oxygen in there? So stuff like that. But it was a great journey, and it was a lot of fun because it was something we did on a Saturday, all together, hanging out, having a couple beers and brewing a beer. So it was fun.
Yeah. And then the first couple of beers that came out of Weird Window?
So the first beer I brewed here was called I Remember My First Beer. And it was, I don't think I could do it again, to be honest with you, just because we opened in the pandemic and I never really had the opportunity to have the commissioning of my brew system. I was doing a lot of it on FaceTime or over email, and I pump speeds, knockout, everything wasn't where I wanted it to be, and it was super. I knocked out a lot of hot particulate and trub matter, and so and then the beer, it was kind of a sluggish fermentation. It was just kind of growing pains of the beer, and that was the first beer that I did, and learned a lot from that, and I'm much happier with the rest of the beers.
I'm assuming the reference from Beer Fest?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, as somebody who watches that once a year, I remember my first beer.
Exactly.
Oh, yes. That's awesome. You're still, I know we're 2 years since your opening, but have you done any collabs?
Yeah, we did one with Black Flannel, who's right up the street. And actually I just did one with a buddy of mine who's a brewer in Syracuse at Talking Cursive.
Okay.
So those are the two we've done so far. I'm still the only production employee back there, so it's hard for me to kind of get away and do anything. At some point, it'd be great to do some more, especially with some of the other guys that I've gotten to know over the years in the industry in Vermont and other states. So we'll see. It's in the cards. It's just I gotta get my time better managed.
Speaking, I mean, those 2-3 dream collabs, whether it be state of Vermont, New York, surrounding, even head up to Canada. What are like a couple of breweries you'd love to brew with?
I mean, it's so hard. You know, I mean, there's just so many good breweries that it'd be great to brew with a lot of people that, you know, I respect and have, you know, drank their beer for years, whether it's here in Vermont or all over. So I don't know. Anybody that wants to come, give me an email.
Oh, we'll have to talk to some guys back home and be like,
exactly.
Hey, since we can travel a lot easier now versus before, you know, yeah, we have to go back and we have to fill out a Rive can. But to me, that's just it. I'm done.
Yeah.
It's very simple when you're traveling. Don't lie to the border guard, and you will very easily get to where you need to go.
Yep.
So there's no question about that. So clearly, you're extremely busy. There's no question about it.
A little bit.
You have a chance to take. You finally got an assistant in the back. Tap rooms, everything's in order. All your orders are filled for the next few weeks. You get a week or two, and you obviously have a wife, child, and a dog. But you have those 2 weeks that you could just take that beercation you've never taken before. Where are you going?
Probably Germany. I would love to go, whether it's for Oktoberfest or not, or just to be able to travel around and, you know, go to Munich and everywhere else through there, like Cologne, and, you know, just it would be awesome. Like to kind of take 2 weeks and just travel through Germany and drink beer would be awesome. Then if I have another 2 weeks, I also enjoy Scotch a lot, so the other one would be Scotland. But that's not beer related, so I didn't give that answer.
All right, I'm new to Weird Window today, but let's say somebody who's completely new to kind of this area of trying craft beer to Vermont, comes here, tries your beers, buy some cans, friends in the area to go try, whether it's grab a can, go eat a meal here, to go to these other breweries.
So, I mean, in terms of other breweries, just within 15 minutes, you can hit Four Quarters, which is right down the road in Winooski. They're fantastic. Green Empire is like 5 minutes over in Essex Junction. Black Flannel is new. They opened about a week before we did.
Okay.
They have incredible beer, incredible food. They're over in Essex Junction. There's Burlington Beer's new spot just opened up right by Switchback. You know, I mean, like that's what's being in this area of Burlington and surrounding. There is so many good breweries that, you know, it's hard to just pick one. I'd tell you, come for a weekend and try them all, because I can't tell you, you know, just a couple like of the breweries to go to. You should really try them all because everybody's doing a really, really great work. And then in terms of food, two of our best friends own the Daily Planet, which is downtown Burlington. We actually, our snacks, chips, salsa, stuff like that come from them. So I always gotta give them a shout out too, because they're doing great work as well. For if you ever want a really, really good meal in Burlington, that's where I'd go.
Gonna have to check that out at some point. Yeah, as you said, you know, I came here September 2019 by myself and just rented an Airbnb just outside of downtown Burlington, went to the archives. I mean, craft beer and video games.
Why not?
You know, how can you go wrong with that?
Exactly.
I did the brew bus tour. I remember his name was Griffin, super young guy. Like, I didn't even think he was legally allowed to drink with us the way how young he looked. You know, doing the brew buses tours are fun. I know they're kind of the mass-produced ones, or city tours.
City brew tours.
Yeah, city brew tours. So I did that. That's another thing, you know, just come here and I'm sure you're eventually going to get added to the list of that.
Yeah, we have them. They come through. So
that's, you know, if you're a craft beer drinker, there's always something to do in some city. You know, where we live in Quebec, there's very kind of more desolate areas, or there's a place near the ocean, and there's like one of the best breweries in Quebec, Oval, is, you know, 10 hours from Montreal. But if you're spending a week on the ocean, you can go drink good beer.
There you go.
It's not hard to find good beer anymore.
Yeah,
maybe
that's very true.
20 years ago, when I first started drinking when I was 18, so 23 years ago, but it's there now.
Yep.
You know, there's no question about it. It's so easy to support a local company now. It's ridiculous. It still blows my mind that some people will just sit there and drink a 6-pack of bad beer. When you could drink a 6-pack of, spend, you know, an extra $5, let's drink a 6-pack of good beer. and we need more local guys like you to stick around. And to me, the giant conglomerates are always going to be there.
Yeah,
there's always room for growth in this industry, and craft beer is slowly getting there. Some articles say otherwise. I disagree personally, but the fact that more of you guys have opened during the pandemic than closed is just proof that there's demand. So.
Yeah, there's demand. And, I think, like you said, people like to support local, especially in Vermont. The people in Vermont love to support because they're all pretty educated beer drinkers and all know like what good beer is and how to find it, and it's easy for them because they can throw a stone and hit a good brewery. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah. All right, let's try this last beer.
So
here.
last beer, this is Cersei's Wildfire. It's a jalapeno cream ale.
Okay.
So it smells hot, but it's not going to blow your palate out. It's you taste like a fresh jalapeno. If you like jalapenos, it's great. This has been a very popular beer. People come in and they're like, oh, I don't know, a jalapeno beer. And then and they're like, wait, it's actually good. So cheers.
Toast. Yeah, like maybe a little bit.
A little bit of heat, but it's on a hot day. It's super refreshing. Mm-hmm. It's a really, really good food beer.
Yeah.
It pairs burgers, sushi, pizza, tacos, whatever. So this has been very popular, and it's one of my favorites. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, to me, I think this would go a good pairing with like a buffalo chicken wing. So you got the heat of the buffalo chicken, and you kind of balance it out with the jalapeno there. I actually have at home, probably going to have it tonight, a jalapeno lime pale ale. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's the stuff you guys do now. And I don't know if I went to a beer making course and then I figured I don't even have an extra closet at home to do it.
Right.
But some guys like, I literally cut open jalapenos, mashed them up and threw them in the beer. And then the home brewer is like, you don't have to do that. There's easier ways to do it now. So
yeah, I mean, it's a half pound per barrel.
Yeah.
Cut off the tip of the jalapeno, cut off the stem, cut it in half, and basically treat it as a dry hop.
Yeah. I'm assuming since you're in farm country, but you do also have a brewery dog where you spent grain, do you make dog treats, or does a local farmer come by?
A local farmer comes and grabs it. They're awesome. They take it up. They have a cow farm up north of here. And so they come and grab it and they feed their cows. They actually have Wagyu cows, which are in Japan were traditionally finished on beer. Yeah. So it's like they're like, oh, it's beer grain. So that's kind of a cool little deal.
So I know you guys do events. For those who aren't aware, this isn't live to tape. It's, we edit. But some events coming up in the next couple of months, and kind of how do you set things up? Because it is not a gigantic tap room.
Right. Yeah. So the events we have coming up, we have a couple festivals coming up. We have the St. Albans Bay Brew Fest that's next weekend. We'll be at Taste of New England in a few weekends, which is in Stowe. September Fest at Mad River Glen. And then I think we have some more music scheduled, but normally what we do, you kind of behind the camera, over in the corner there, we have two of the barrels. We move the barrels out of the way and have the music set up over there, and then we open this garage door that's behind the cameras to kind of open the space up. And so that way, everybody outside can hear the music, and it kind of allows for the volume to be a little more manageable. Yeah. So kind of having the summertime with the garage door open almost doubles the space. So.
Awesome. I was thinking too, because it's kind of a mix of industrial and residential. What are your happy hours like here?
Happy hours?
Yeah, if you do a happy hour.
It is illegal to do a happy hour in Vermont. So
that's not cool.
So if you have a special, you can do a special all day. So right over there, it's probably out of the shop. But Thursdays we do a $1 off all draft beer. Okay. Friday is $1 off all 4-packs. You can run specials all day long, but you just can't run them for from 4 to 6. So
that's actually better.
Yeah,
the way I think about it.
Yeah,
so as somebody who will go out and grab a meal and have a beer, and I'm sure Uber Eats is out here too. So anybody who's kind of dining, just order Uber Eats because you don't have a food license. So.
Well, you have to be able to pour pints. You have to have food. So we have the snacky stuff, but we encourage people to bring their own food, and if they want to support another business and bring the food here, we're more than happy to do that.
Plus, I see dog treats, and I saw a couple of dog bowls, so you can bring your pets too?
Yep, outside on the patio, dog friendly.
Awesome. You're still very new, but kind of what's next for Weird Window as a brand?
Just kind of keep growing, keep getting the name out there, keep trying to attend as many events as we can, and fill up the tap room.
You see yourselves maybe knocking down a wall, or if somebody opens, let's say next door opens up?
We do have some ability to add a couple more tanks and add another row of fermenters right now, if we wanted to down the line. We have space for our canning line right now. We use a mobile canner. So those are all kind of things that we could do. Maybe 5-10 years if our neighbors next door go that way. But we're happy with where we are right now and where we're headed. So.
I mean, you're still an infant when you think about it. You're 2 years old.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's there.
Got plenty of time.
Yeah. I see your neighbors next door have some solar panels. Could you see yourselves using some renewable energy in the future?
Our neighbor next door is our landlord.
Okay.
So he and they're awesome, and we're working on getting solar panels up on the roof so that we're a little more renewable and not as relied on the power, but.
We are starting to see, especially in the province of Ontario, the renewable energy when creating your brewery is a lot higher now, because it's clear that we need the planet to be here to enjoy tasty beer.
Right.
We need the planet to not be constantly on fire to grow good hops and have wheat and all the necessary ingredients. As well, you're kind of surrounded by a lot of nature. Could you see yourselves doing maybe some wild yeast out of the area at some point?
Probably not, just because I would be worried about having wild yeast and clean yeast, if you will, in the same facility. Like if we ever end up going next door and I want to start a wild program, I wouldn't knock that wall down. That way you have separate air handling, separate hoses, everything stays over there for the wild, and then otherwise, because if you do it wrong, some people can do it well, and if you do it wrong, then all of a sudden you're only a wild brewery. So so there's I would probably avoid doing that, at least for now.
I mean, with the simplicity of beer is just the smallest little thing you don't clean and beer's done.
Yep.
So it's the same thing: is keep it separate and make sure there's no cross contamination at all.
I mean, that's 95% of brewing is cleaning.
Yeah, and that's where I fail, because I know I wouldn't put enough cleaner, and then I would do all this work, and it'd be like, no, or I'd serve it to the softball league I used to play in, where they just only drink mass beers, and be like, here's my beer. It's ruined for me, but here you go.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Amazing, Jack. Thank you very much for
thank you.
Having us here today. Really appreciate, like I said, anybody who's willing to take time out of their extremely busy schedules to speak with us about their breweries.
Happy to do it.
So for those who are looking for Weird Window, let them know where they can find you.
So we are Weird Window Brewing. We are in South Burlington, Vermont. You can find us weirdwindowbrewing.com. We're Weird Window Brewing on Facebook, Weird Window Brewing on Instagram, and 82 Ethan Allen Drive, South Burlington. Come on down. Love to see you.
As for us, allbeerinside.com is the website, @allbeerinside on all social media, and as I say at the end of all episodes, drink craft, not crap.